Hello everybody. I wanted to create this video to sort of publicly address a conversation that I recently had with a student of mine. Excuse me. At the end of February, I'm teaching a Hanumanasana masterclass. That's the full splits. And I was talking to the student of mine about this workshop, this masterclass, and I was like, hey, am I going to see you there? Because she is so beautiful and she's usually at all the workshops that I teach. And she was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. And I was like, oh, do you have something else going on that day? Like, if you have other plans, that's okay. And she's like, no, I'm just not flexible enough to do that pose. That sort of sucked to hear her say, because here I see this super badass woman who is super committed to her yoga practice, is like super invested in learning more and discovering more of what she's capable of, and yet she felt like she wasn't flexible enough to be able to go to this workshop to do this pose. And the sad truth is that she's not the only one that feels that way. Current yoga student, current yoga teacher, or potential yoga student or teacher. I can't tell you the number of times that friends or colleagues or acquaintances or whoever has said to me, like, I don't know about doing yoga, I'm not flexible enough to do it. Now, I know a lot of yoga teachers' reactions are something along the lines of, well, that's the point. That's why you go to yoga, to get more flexible, something like that. Which isn't a terrible response, but I think that there's a certain missing awareness around why so many people are saying this, that they're not flexible enough to do yoga. So my real point about making this video, and where my conversation with my student ultimately led to, is that I see this conversation happening. I hear these words, I'm not flexible enough to do yoga, I'm not flexible enough to do that pose. My point is that I hear this and I see this, and particularly over the past year or so, I've been raising my awareness around this even further. I've been doing a lot of work, self-work, to find out what my role has been in creating this thought, this stigma, I guess, if you want to call it that. And I have been doing the absolute best that I can in my own classes, in my own workshops, in my own retreats, to teach differently, to teach in a way that really feels accessible to every person who shows up, to every person, every body that's in that room. Now, with that said, I also want to address a misconception, I think, that happens a lot also in our yoga world, is that simple doesn't necessarily mean easy. I think that's true not just in yoga, but in much of life. But for the purposes of this conversation that we're having, if you think of yoga, right? Okay. So take like plank pose. That's truthfully a simple pose, meaning not complex. your arms and your legs and your hands and your wrists and everything. It's not all like twisted up in a very super complex way. It's simple. You're on your hands and your feet, or your hands and your knees. Simple, but not necessarily easy. I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to hold plank for 30 seconds, a minute and a half, 2 minutes. That starts to get real tough real fast. So, sorry, I got so distracted for a minute. My cat is trying to claw his way under the door into the room. Anyways, so tying all this together is that I have been looking at how I have been teaching, what my role is in this I'm not flexible yoga landscape. I have been shifting the way that I am teaching to make it accessible to all. But I think that sometimes people have this thought like, oh, this is going to be presented in a way that's accessible for me. Accessible also doesn't mean easy. So, if you are interested in challenging yourself a bit, in sort of pushing the container of your comfort zone a bit, if you're interested in that, you're interested in learning more about the yoga practice in an environment that is supportive of wherever, truly, wherever you are at on that given day, then I would absolutely love to have you come join me for my Hanumanasana workshop that's coming up, my retreat that's coming up this summer in Maine, or any other events or retreats that I have coming up. And if you have any questions about any of this, if this sparked any further inquiries, please feel free to send them my way. You can send me a direct message, or you can always send me an email at caitlinlassieyoga@gmail.com. I hope this gave you a little bit of food for thought as you go on with the rest of your day.